So this is part 3 of my 3-part video series on how to deal with TMJ or jaw pain. So listen up. And of course, before we get going, if you haven't already, please subscribe to Riley Rehab on YouTube. Every single week coming up with new content, helping you become the expert of your own body. So with that being said, I already touched on how you can massage to relieve the TMJ. I touched on how you can exercise to help keep that pain down. But one of the biggest things a lot of people might neglect is what they do in their day-to-day life. So I'm going to show some of the biggest things that often can lead to the pain that you want to either modify or prevent. The first one is what you're eating. Now, in general, anything that is really hard, really chewy, or really crunchy is going to be higher stress on the TMJ joint, especially if you're chewing on the same side where the pain is. So what I would do is I would first take a look at your diet and see the things that are harder that you're eating, and at first cut them out. At first I want you guys to start imagining you're a 90-year-old person with no teeth and you're eating that kind of diet. Even if you have to start with applesauce and soup and things like that, start at that point, and then from that point you want to gradually work your way up to doing more firmer or chewier or harder foods. So one way I could explain it is you kind of start off with the soup and the applesauce, and then if you already feel that's like your pain's fine, then you can easily go up to something like mashed potatoes and cooked broccoli. As a side fact too, boiling food usually makes it softer, so often that will make it easier. But then you gradually work up. I don't like to tell people to never eat steak again or to never eat nuts again, because in a lot of ways you can get back to that, and there's a point too where you do want to actually work up to it. It's kind of like you're exercising and rehabbing by doing this, but you do want to take it in steps. So I would go a little on the safer side at first, just to make sure the pain's calmed down, and then gradually make it harder and harder. If you do want, you can even kind of keep a diary of the kind of foods you're eating, because it is kind of rehab exercise in itself. The second thing, this is tied to eating as well, is you want to avoid eating things that are very large. Things where you have to eat, where you open your mouth a lot, because those require you to open your mouth a lot, and in many cases that can hurt the jaw joint even more, once again, especially when it's on that side. Now, I like to be a little careful once again with using the word avoid, because it doesn't mean you never have to do that again, but it does mean you do have to kind of work your way from kind of level 1 and then progress to getting to being able to eat the big apples or the big pieces of sushi. So I would say at first, cut up your apples, cut up your big pieces of sushi, any large things you would eat, and then gradually work up to it. Combine those with doing your exercises to make sure you have the range and the comfort in that range to do it. The next tip is you want to be extra careful when you're yawning too, because that actually does make your mouth open a lot. And obviously I can't tell somebody to never yawn again, but one way that you can take the edge off when you yawn is to put the top of your tongue against the roof of your mouth while you yawn. So this would look like this. And basically what that's doing is, by the tongue being on the top of the mouth, it stops your mouth from opening too much, where it would get you out of the zone of where you would trigger the pain or flare yourself up. The next tip's on posture. I don't want to stress this too much, but in general, the more you're sitting tall when you're doing things, the less stress you're going to put on the neck muscles that will pull on the jaw muscles, and ultimately your jaw will feel better from that. Not to say that you can never poke your head forward. Every now and then we have to do it all the time, so I'm not going to tell people never do it again, but always realize that in general you're better off sitting tall as much as you can. And then if you need to occasionally peek forward, do it, but don't sit in long positions where you're going forward. And this is especially the case if you're one of those people who likes to lean forward with your hand on your chin. This is probably one of the highest risk ones, especially if you're leaning on the chin there too. Once again, if you're one of those people who can get away with it, don't worry about it too much, but realize that the combination of pressure on your chin with your head poked forward is going to make it a higher risk thing. So number one, if you are absolutely going to do this, ideally find a way to do it with a taller posture, find a higher table, and don't weight bear on your hand when you do it. Just maybe touch lightly with your fingertips, something like that if you have that kind of habit. It can be a tough one to break. I know I definitely do it a lot, but it's really useful if you are in a lot of pain and you're looking to calm it down. And the last tip, and I think this is probably one of the most important ones, is you want to make sure you keep all the muscles relaxed when you're not using your jaw to talk, when you're not using them to exercise, doing those kind of things. Because a lot of the times people will hold a lot of their tension in the jaw, especially those who have pain there. So you have to almost find a way to kind of relax that area there. Sometimes this will happen while you do a massage or while you're stretching, that kind of thing. But the way that I would try to focus on it is when you feel all this tension here, try your best just to let go of everything. Imagine your jaw kind of dropping there and you're not guarding, you're not holding it and tensing up. If your jaw is like my fist, you're not holding it like this, you're holding it like this. Obviously, when you have to talk, bite, chew, you do have to go like this, but I would try to train yourself to, as much as you can, just kind of stay loose, stay relaxed in that jaw. You may not notice an instant pain relief from this, but over time it will make the muscles calm down, and it can often be really good just to help keep the pain down, because then you aren't holding your stress as much in that area. This is also common in other spots like the shoulders too. So that's the end of my 3-part video series. If you haven't already, please watch the first 2 because I go into other details of how you can deal with this pain and ultimately be able to get back to your regular life again. So take care, and we'll see you next time.